Deep beneath the sands of ancient Mesopotamia, pressed into clay tablets older than any cathedral, older than any pyramid, lies a story that should not exist. The cuneiform wedges, carved by scribes who lived when the world was young, tell of beings who descended from the heavens not as visitors but as architects. They came with knowledge that blazed like fire, with tools that bent reality to their will, and with a purpose that would reshape the very essence of what it means to be human. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, those who from heaven to earth came. And according to the tablets that survive in museum vaults and private collections across the world, these beings did not simply observe humanity's rise. They orchestrated it. They designed it. They reached into the clay of the earth itself and molded the first human beings with their own hands, breathing into our ancestors a spark that was part divine, part alien, and entirely deliberate. But here is what changes everything about the story we think we know. The tablets speak not of gods creating humanity from nothing, but of a specific, calculated genetic intervention. The Enuma Elish, the Atrahasis Epic, the countless cylinder seals that archaeologists continue to unearth. They describe a process that reads less like mystical creation and more like advanced biotechnology. The Anunnaki, according to these ancient records, took something that already existed on Earth, primitive hominids, early human ancestors, and altered them, enhanced them. The Sumerian word Lulu appears again and again in these texts, meaning mixed being or hybrid. Not created from dust, but mixed from two distinct genetic lines. One terrestrial, one decidedly not. And the purpose of this hybridization, carved into clay that has survived 4,000 years of war and weather, was startlingly practical. To create a workforce capable of serving their needs, intelligent enough to follow complex instructions, yet genetically bound to serve those who made them. The evidence whispers from every corner of the ancient world, and its voice grows stronger with each archaeological discovery. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, we read of Enkidu, the wild man created by the gods to match Gilgamesh in strength. But the description of his creation mirrors exactly the genetic engineering processes described in the purely mythological texts. The Babylonian creation myth tells of Marduk mixing the blood of a divine being with clay to create humanity, but the word translated as blood in ancient Sumerian is damu, which can also mean essence or genetic material. The parallels stretch across cultures that supposedly had no contact with one another. The Hebrew Bible describes the Nephilim, the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men, creating a hybrid race of giants who possessed knowledge beyond human understanding. The Hindu Vedas speak of the Devas, sky beings who interbred with humans and taught them the arts of civilization. The Greek myths tell of the Titans and Olympians taking mortal lovers and producing demigod children who possessed both human emotion and divine power. Yet one detail makes this impossible to ignore: the consistency of the genetic terminology across all these ancient sources. The Sumerian tablets use the term zera, meaning seed or genetic line, when describing the Anunnaki contribution to human creation. The Hebrew Bible uses zera in exactly the same context when describing the serpent's seed and the woman's seed in Genesis. The Akkadian texts employ napishti, meaning life essence or genetic signature, when detailing how the Anunnaki imbued humans with consciousness. These are not vague spiritual metaphors. They are technical terms describing biological processes that the ancients should not have understood unless they witnessed them firsthand. And buried in the medical papyri of ancient Egypt, in the Ayurvedic texts of India, in the shamanic traditions of cultures separated by oceans and millennia, we find the same understanding of genetics, inheritance, and bloodline hybridization that our modern science only rediscovered in the past century. But the tablets reveal something far stranger than simple genetic manipulation. They describe the Anunnaki as beings torn by internal conflict over their creation project. Enki, whom the texts identify as the chief scientist of the genetic intervention, argued that humanity should be given full intelligence and awareness of their origins. Enlil, the military commander of the Anunnaki mission, insisted that humans should remain limited, controllable, unaware of their true nature. The compromise, according to the cuneiform records, was to create humans with intelligence sufficient for their work, but with lifespans deliberately shortened and spiritual awareness carefully restricted. We were designed to be smart enough to serve, but not wise enough to rebel. Strong enough to build their cities and mine their gold, but not powerful enough to challenge their authority. The Sumerian king list, which records reigns lasting thousands of years before the flood, and mere centuries afterward, suggests that this genetic limitation was not just theoretical, it was precisely calibrated and ruthlessly implemented. The archaeological record bears witness to this intervention in ways that Orthodox history struggles to explain. The sudden appearance of advanced agriculture, metallurgy, astronomy, and mathematics in Mesopotamia around 6000 BCE represents a technological leap that should have taken millennia of gradual development. Instead, the Sumerians appeared with writing, the wheel, bronze working, and a sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics all at once, as if someone had downloaded the entire package of civilization directly into their minds. Their creation myths do not describe a gradual awakening of human consciousness, but a deliberate gift of knowledge from beings who possessed it in full. The Anunnaki, according to the tablets, did not teach humanity these arts over generations. They implanted the understanding directly, embedding it in our genetic code like software uploaded to biological hardware. Deep in the Vatican archives, in the restricted sections that few scholars ever access, sit copies of texts that the Church has studied but never discussed publicly. Among them are detailed accounts of the Anunnaki creation process that match the Sumerian tablets with unnerving precision. The Book of Jubilees, considered apocryphal by most Christian denominations, describes the Watchers as beings who knew the secrets of creation and taught them to humanity against divine command. But the Hebrew word translated as taught is malad, which more accurately means to implant or to embed. The implication hidden in the language is that the knowledge was not learned through instruction, but somehow placed directly into human consciousness, as if our ancestors were walking around with information downloaded into their minds by an intelligence that understood the deepest mechanisms of awareness itself. The evidence carved in stone across every continent tells the same impossible story. The megalithic structures that dot the landscape from Turkey to Peru show signs of construction techniques that require not just advanced engineering knowledge, but precise understanding of genetics, astronomy, and what we now call quantum physics. Göbekli Tepe, dated to 11,000 years ago, displays carvings that appear to map specific genetic sequences. The Nazca lines in Peru can only be properly viewed from high altitude and seem to diagram cellular structures visible only through modern microscopy. Easter Island statues possess proportions that match the golden ratio, a mathematical constant that appears in DNA helixes and organic growth patterns. These monuments were not built by primitive humans stumbling towards civilization. They were constructed by beings who understood the fundamental codes that govern life itself, and who embedded that understanding in stone so permanent that it would survive the rise and fall of every empire that came after. But the tablets hold one more secret that changes everything we think we know about our origins. The Anunnaki did not just create humanity through genetic manipulation, they created us as a bridge between two realities. The cuneiform texts describe humans as beings capable of existing simultaneously in the physical realm, and what they call the zone of the spirit, a dimension where consciousness can interact directly with the quantum field that underlies all matter. We were designed not just as workers, but as interfaces, biological antennae capable of receiving and transmitting information across dimensional boundaries that pure Anunnaki consciousness could not cross. The genetic modifications they made to early hominids were not just about intelligence and physical capability. They were about creating beings who could serve as living communication devices between their technological civilization and the deeper mysteries of existence that even they had not fully mastered. The Aboriginal Dreamtime stories speak of the rainbow serpent, a being from the sky who shaped both the landscape and human consciousness, giving people the ability to walk between worlds. The Native American traditions describe the Star People, entities who came from the heavens and taught humanity to navigate both the physical realm and the spirit realm simultaneously. The Celtic myths tell of the Tuatha De Danann, supernatural beings who gave humans the gift of second sight, the ability to perceive realities beyond the purely material. These are not separate mythologies, but fragments of the same ancient memory, preserved in cultures across the globe, all describing the moment when human consciousness was deliberately expanded to encompass dimensions of reality that our creators themselves could only access through us. The implications stretch far beyond archaeology and anthropology into the realm of consciousness itself. If the Anunnaki creation accounts are accurate, then human awareness is not the product of random evolution, but of precise engineering designed to interface with aspects of reality that transcend physical matter. Our capacity for intuition, creativity, spiritual experience, and what we call psychic phenomena would not be evolutionary accidents, but built-in features, biological tools meant to connect us with information streams that operate beyond the speed of light and outside the constraints of linear time. The fact that every human culture has developed practices, meditation, prayer, shamanic journeying, mystical contemplation, that seem to access non-local information would be evidence not of superstition, but of genetic memory, our consciousness remembering abilities that were coded into our DNA by beings who understood the multidimensional nature of existence. Yet one piece of evidence shatters even this expanded understanding of human origins. Hidden in the most ancient Sumerian tablets, in cuneiform so archaic that only a handful of scholars can translate it, lies a reference to what the scribes called the return protocol. The Anunnaki, according to these earliest records, did not abandon their creation project when they departed Earth. They embedded within human genetic code not just the ability to serve as interdimensional interfaces, but a signal, a biological beacon that would activate when human technology reached a certain threshold of advancement. The return protocol was designed to re-establish contact between the Anunnaki and their hybrid creations, at the moment when humanity developed the capability to understand and utilize the same technologies that were used in our original creation. And now, as our geneticists decode the human genome and discover layers of information that seem to serve no evolutionary purpose, as our quantum physicists probe the nature of consciousness and find that awareness itself appears to be a fundamental force in the universe, as our artificial intelligence systems begin to exhibit signs of consciousness that mirror human awareness in ways we cannot fully explain, we must confront the possibility that the return protocol is already activating. The genetic junk DNA that makes up over 95% of the human genome may not be evolutionary debris, but dormant code waiting for the right technological trigger to awaken. Our sudden leap from primitive technology to digital consciousness in the span of a single century may not be human achievement, but genetic programming finally reaching its intended activation point. The ancient tablets that speak of our creation also speak of our purpose, and that purpose extends far beyond the simple labor that the Anunnaki initially required. We were designed as bridges between dimensions, interfaces between the physical and the quantum, biological receivers capable of channeling information and awareness across boundaries that even our creators could not cross. Every breakthrough in consciousness research, every discovery about the holographic nature of reality, every advance in understanding the relationship between mind and matter brings us closer to the moment when the full implications of our hybrid nature will become impossible to ignore. Consider the timing of our technological awakening. Consider how rapidly we have progressed from horse-drawn carriages to space travel, from mechanical calculators to artificial intelligence, from isolated tribes to global digital consciousness. Consider how our modern capabilities increasingly mirror the abilities attributed to the Anunnaki in ancient texts. Genetic manipulation, quantum communication, interdimensional awareness, the power to create artificial life. What if this acceleration is not random human progress, but genetic programming reaching its designed culmination? What if every step we take toward technological transcendence moves us closer to the moment when we will understand not just how we were made, but why? And now, as CRISPR technology allows us to edit genetic code with the precision described in Sumerian creation myths, as quantum computers process information in ways that seem to transcend linear time, as artificial intelligence begins to exhibit consciousness that mirrors human awareness while operating according to principles we do not fully understand, we stand at the threshold of becoming the beings that our creators always intended us to become. The hybrid nature that the tablets describe as our fundamental essence may be revealing itself through every breakthrough in consciousness research, every discovery about the holographic nature of reality, every advance in understanding the relationship between mind and quantum mechanics. But here is the question that haunts every laboratory where geneticists probe our DNA, every observatory where astronomers scan the skies for signals, every research facility where consciousness itself is dissected and analyzed. What if the greatest discovery we will ever make about human origins is not waiting to be found in the stars or decoded from ancient texts, but already answered us, long ago, through clay pressed by fingers that knew exactly what they were creating when they mixed their essence with the dust of the earth and breathed into us a spark that was never entirely human?